Well, you're already running late then, so you better fucking hurry.
Not our fault.
It's my fault, actually. I'm evil. I'm sick and twisted. I'm screwed in the head. Welcome to the Chatting Average. Well, we are finally at the last divisional preview before the start of the season. Technically, we're gonna let you in on a little secret here. The season already started. The Cubs and the Dodgers already played the first game of the Tokyo series at 5:10 Central Time, 4:10 Mountain Time, and like probably 8 p.m. Japan time. I'm not really sure.
I don't know the
Japan
translation
time.
of Japanese time off the top of my head. I'll be honest with you.
But
Japan time.
technically, the season's already started. The NL West already has one team that's already starting out. That doesn't really change anything here, but we thought it was important to let you know that.
No, I think it does change something. The Los Angeles Dodgers lost their opening game and will no longer be going 162-0.
They didn't
Right,
lose.
161-1 incoming.
Wait, did they lose?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, 4-1.
It was a really low scoring game.
I think I got the wrong notification. I've gone about all of today thinking that the Cubs lost.
Well, am I wrong? It's possible that I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, we're restarting the show.
I disagree. As you can see, this was at 5
Oh,
o'clock.
it wasn't Dodgers.
The Dodgers won.
We're restarting the show.
No, we're not. We've got the NL West to do today, and I didn't know we were starting. So let me clean my camera real quick.
See, again,
this episode is brought to you by Camera Cleaner. No, just kidding. But yeah, we have the NL West today, final day of divisions, and then next week we're actually going to have to talk about like
actual baseball things.
We get one episode before opening day, where we're going to talk about something.
We'll figure something out.
You will be the first to know.
You will listen as well.
It's true. You will listen on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube.
It's true. We're there.
We're on YouTube.
I tried out a new naming format on YouTube. I put the NL Central preview, for example, and then the Chatting Average episode so and so. So hopefully that helps our SEO. But you should still check it out regardless.
We're all about the clickbait here. All of it.
The Rockies did what? Nothing. Really is nothing. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, so we can jump right in to these divisional previews. And if this is the first time you're tuning in to a divisional preview here on the Chatting Average, the way that we do things is we go worst to first. Obviously, that is in reference to last year. The team that finished worst in the division will be the first team we talk about, going all the way up to the division leader, or the division winner, rather, which, of course, last year was the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to say about that. But before we get to the Dodgers, we have to start with the last place team. Spoiler alert, will probably be the last place team again this year, the Colorado Rockies.
The Colorado Rockies in the offseason lost to retirement, Charlie Blackmon, to everything else, Brendan Rodgers, Cal Quantrill, Dakota Hudson, Daniel Bard, and Jake Cave. They did acquire, though, Owen Miller, Kyle Farmer, Tyro Estrada, Scott Alexander, Diego Castilla, and Austin Nola.
This is tough. I think this is clearly a team that wants to commit to its youth. It's basically the Colorado Albuquerque Isotopes at this point, and it shows in who they've acquired so far. Owen Miller is a guy who's still kind of young but projects as kind of a utility infielder, much like the older Kyle Farmer, who comes in as kind of this veteran presence, likely second base starter too, without, you don't have Brandon Rodgers anymore, or Tyro Estrada might also slot in at second. It really does depend. Austin Nola, just a veteran backstop. You don't have Elias Diaz anymore. and Scott Alexander, Diego Castilla filter in elsewhere. But this is a youth movement team. It's going to be, it has to be, you've got Ezekiel Tovar, Adele Amador, Drew Romo, Jordan Beck, Chase Dollander. Like, you've got guys who really could be really interesting players, but at the end of the day, everyone in the MLB sphere is going to see them as just trade bait, because this isn't a team that's going to perform. It's going to be a very young, rough patch of a team, but it's one with exciting projectability.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that opening day roster for the Rockies projected, and obviously you have a couple older guys in that lineup, and Ryan McMahon, who somehow has been in the league for 7 years now, which is crazy to think about, and Chris Bryant, who's been around close to a decade. Your opening day projected catcher is Jacob Stallings. I think Hunter Goodman and Drew Romo both come for that job relatively quickly. I don't expect Stallings to be the everyday guy there. But outside of those two and a half players, basically everybody up and down this lineup has 2 or less years of Major League Baseball service time. Now, do I think that all these guys are going to stick around and be on the next good Rockies team? No. I don't necessarily think that Nolan Jones is going to be around long term. I think I'd probably say the same about Brenton Doyle. But at least the fact that this team is committing to trying to have younger guys and trying to put those younger guys on the field to see what they have in the tank, I think is a good direction for this Rockies team to go in. That being said, they're very far away from where they need to be, but they're training in the right direction. I think that matters to a degree.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, it's kind of really nice to see 5 guys out of your 9 in your starting lineup being homegrown guys. That's like, you're just throwing the guys out there. Hey, we're not going to have a good year, but go out there and see what you can do. I mean, other than McMahon, every one of those guys has basically less than 2 years of service time. So it's like, I really enjoy that. I'm really excited to see Chris Bryant and his projected -0.1 WAR. What's that mean? He'll strike out 3 times in game 1 and then not play the rest of the season, or?
That's a distinct possibility. Let's play a fun trivia game. It's called How Many Games Has Chris Bryant Played in the Colorado Rockies Uniform? Any guesses?
How long has he been there?
Chris Bryant has been a member of the Colorado Baseball Rockies since 2022, so this will be season 4 for him.
70?
86.
Across 3 seasons, you're both low.
Okay,
Wow.
133.
Across 3 seasons, he has not quite squeaked out 1 full season. He's played 159 total games in a Rockies uniform. His WAR over that time is -1.1.
Wow, how fun!
Just retire.
$200 million man right there. The issue that the Rockies have had, and I've said this for forever, but the issue that the Rockies have had for as long as I can remember is not that they're cheapskates. It's not that they refuse to spend money on free agents. It's that they constantly spend money on free agents that suck. So to a certain degree, I think it signals maybe a bit of an organizational change that you have so many young guys that are going to be playing in the lineup right now, and I think that's kind of exciting. But then at the same time, on the flip side of that coin, you still have Thairo Estrada, and you still have Kyle Farmer, and you still have Jacob Stallings. What are they doing on this roster? What are we doing?
It's like the Moneyball fail son. Like it's like if Moneyball had like how Harry Potter had to live under the staircase of his cousins. That kind of feels like what the Rockies are trying to do with Moneyball. Like, they want to do it, they really want to do it, and they just can't get it to work. Part of it is every value pitcher they bring in, you don't realize that the value comes from possibly overperforming, and overperforming value pitcher and underperforming home venue kind of evens out to just being a bad pitcher. So I don't know what the Monforts are doing. I don't think anyone knows what the Monforts are doing. But he responds to emails, so maybe
he does respond to emails from his iPad.
He does respond from his iPad. You
Good
want to
old,
move?
good old Dick and Charlie. Love those two gentlemen. One final thought that I'll share about the Rockies, and we can move forward if you guys don't have anything else to add. One final thought that I'll throw in is that I don't hate this bullpen. You look at young guys like Victor Vodnik, you look at younger guys like Luis Peralta, Jake Bird to an extent, and obviously Seth Halverson, I think, is the big, centerpiece, friend of the
Friend of
program.
the
Seth
program.
Halverson is the centerpiece of this bullpen that's very, very young and is actually performing very well. They were very good last September. I think over the course of a full season, this is going to be a good bullpen. If you don't have a good starting rotation, which this team does not have a good starting rotation, if you don't have a good starting rotation and you don't have a good lineup, who cares if your bullpen is decent? Who cares?
We move.
We move forward to the team that finished second to last in last year's National League West. Los Gigantes of San Francisco.
Los Gigantes lose in the offseason. Blake Snell, Michael Conforto, Mark Canha, Jairo Estrada, Kirk Casale, and Taylor Rogers. Kirk Casale was still playing baseball. Got it. Major acquisitions: Willie Adames, for some reason, Justin Verlander, for some reason, and Joey Lucchesi.
So, look, the fighting Mickey Doolittles aren't fighting very much. This is a team that is held together by paper clips and band-aids. And you look around the horn, Willie Adames filled a very strange need for them. That was like a marquee, very early offseason signing as kind of the next great Giants shortstop. Because Brandon Crawford left and you kind of didn't have anyone. You tried out Tyler Fitzgerald, you tried out Brett Wisely, and neither of the Tyler Fitzgerald could realistically play anywhere, and Brett Wisely just kind of had a hot streak and then started underperforming. And the guy, air presumptive, Marco Luciano, has been so bad he got kicked to the outfield and then to minor league camp. So you're looking at this like maybe he does fill a need, but not the most pressing one. You know, your starting rotation is a la last year's St. Louis Cardinals, old, like so old. You've got Justin Verlander and Robbie Ray heading that up. Logan Webb isn't getting any younger, although he consistently performs well in his.
They're not as old as last year's St. Louis. They got one guy over the age of 34.
But it feels like guys that they've just kind of been around for a bit. You know, if Anthony Desclafani was still there,
Verlander's been in the league for 19 years, but Robbie Ray is still. Robbie Ray is still Robbie Ray.
Camp with Justin Verlander in the rocking chair. That was hilarious.
A la Satchel Paige.
Oh yeah.
But really, it feels like this is a team that just could have used an arm, and they got Willie Adames instead, who isn't a two-way player, so he won't pitch. So I feel like you kind of missed the big deal here. You know, you didn't make a push to I don't know what kind of push they made to retain Blake Snell, if any at all, because he did just move to your most heated rival. This is a team that they just, no wonder they needed a new GM.
Yeah, and that actually brings me to a point that I wanted to make, which is that this has been a very strange first off season, I think, for the Buster Posey administration. Your two big ticket gets are Justin Verlander and Willie Adames, obviously, and Verlander is, I would say, probably one of the 5 most famous baseball players currently active in the world. And you go out and get him because he's a big name and that'll sell tickets. But do we really think he's going to make that team much better? I personally don't. I also think that there's young arms that are intriguing for this Giants team, and blocking a roster spot with him is just kind of strange. Like, maybe at the beginning of the year, you're not quite ready for Hayden Birdsong. Maybe you're not quite ready for Keaton Wynn to both be in that starting rotation. But by the end of the year, those are guys that you're banking on to be solid major league level starters. And if Verlander's still around, is he getting in the way of that growth? Is he taking up a roster spot for those guys? Because at the end of the day, something you need to realize, I think, as the Giants, as an organization. You need to realize that you are not going to make the playoffs this year, and you need to push yourself in a direction where you can make the playoffs in the future. If you're going to make the playoffs next year, for example, maybe it's going to be because of guys like Wynn. Maybe it's because of guys like Birdsong, and you got to give them the opportunity to play, to get their feet underneath them so they can be good when you're ready to rely on them.
I think that this lineup is still pretty good. I don't like. I agree. Like they're not going to make the playoffs, but like it's going to be interesting to see what their front office does, because like they have a lineup that could potentially like win some playoff games, but they have to get there. And unfortunately, you're in the same division as the Clarna Dodgers, and they're going to pay everybody till 2096 so that they can have every good player in the league. But like, I like their rotation. I don't really get the Justin Verlander thing. Like, I would much rather see Keaton Wynn up there, but like, whatever. Like, Hayden Birdsong is gonna start the year as the 5th starter. He's good. I believe in him a lot. Could be a breakout candidate this year. Kind of was last year. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree. They're already. I'll lock it in right now. They're my 4th place team.
Yeah, I think I would say that sneaky, this team is closer to 100 losses than they are to making the playoffs.
I'd have to agree. It's just, I feel like they're gonna fall into a pit, kind of. They're like, something is gonna come up that's going to tax depth, and when it comes to, I think, infield depth, you're worried. When it comes to pitching staff, you're blocking your best guys. It's just some speed bump is going to come along, and they aren't going to be able to adapt. So,
any final thoughts on the Giants, or shall we move forward?
I say we move.
We move forward to the 3rd place team from last year, defending World Series runners-up with a disappointing regular season last year. That is the Arizona Diamondbacks. John, do they play for rings in the desert?
In some cases, sure. Not in the offseason. They lost Christian Walker, Kevin Newman, Paul Sewald, Josh Bell, Jock Peterson, Scott McGough, or however you say that, Tucker Barnhart, Miguel Castro, Luis Guillermo, Dylan Floro, Slade Ciccone. But they gained Corbin Burns and his untaxable money, Josh Naylor, and Kendall Graveman.
Josh Naylor is an interesting acquisition, and I know we're like kind of ignoring Corbin Burns for a second, but you lose Christian Walker, who has been really your franchise cornerstone. Like, if there was anyone that you could throw up on a banner at Chase Field and be like, all right, we're fine with having this guy, he's not going anywhere, it was Ketel Marte, Christian Walker. And you look at it now, and although Josh Naylor had his only, to this date, all-star year last year, it was actually a worse season than his 2023. He had a 1.5 WAR as compared to a 2.3. When you look at his OPS actually went down 12 from 130 to 118. And this is someone who used to project as someone who could play in the outfield, and now has been physically limited to first base. You thought that power would carry him, and now it's actually started to slip a little bit. And, obviously you bring him in as a younger first baseman, someone you can control for a little bit. You just hope that he can maintain that all-star caliber and maybe even regain some of that power that he's starting to lose.
It's interesting, right, that they're going with Naylor kind of not even just as a Christian Walker replacement, but in certain aspects they're going to ask him to reproduce the production of Jock Peterson as well. That's another guy they let walk in free agency and didn't really do much to patch that over. In the DH spot, you're looking at like Pavin Smith as your opening day DH. Like, that's bad. I think it's a gamble that I personally wouldn't take. I understand where the D-backs are coming from in gambling that Josh Naylor can be as productive as Christian Walker was last year. I wouldn't take that gamble, but I see where they're coming from. If you're asking him to do Christian Walker and also Jock Peterson, that's a losing bet.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Josh Naylor can fill the hole of one of those guys if he was just assigned to fill one of those guys' holes. I don't think Josh Naylor's as good of a baseball player as some people think he is. And I think that asking him to fill the hole of Christian Walker or asking him to fill the hole of Jock Peterson is kind of insane, especially when it's going to be Pavin Smith, who's going to have like a 190 average at the end of the year. Like, I don't know. I still like the D-backs, and this may just be bias for no reason, but like they still have some good players on this team. Like they very well could be playing for a playoff spot at the end of the year. Corbin Burns is huge. That's practically a win every fifth day, right? Like we said that when the Orioles got him, and we talked about, hey, the Orioles need a guy that when they throw them out there, they're going to have the best chance that day out of their 5-day rotation that they're going to get a win, and it worked. And I think in a place where Burns is truly settled down now, where he was on the end of his contract last year, got to Baltimore, was like, cool, I probably will spend 1 year here. Now he's in Arizona. He wanted to be in Arizona. He gets to be in Arizona, and I think he's going to settle into a pretty solid season from Corbin. So I don't know. I still like the D-backs here.
Yeah, that's the top two in their rotation, I think, is huge. In Corbin Burns and Zach Gallen, I think, are two of the best pitchers in baseball, and I think that's going to be one of the strongest 1-2 punches in baseball throughout the duration of the season here. But once you get past that, I think there's some issues with this rotation. I think you look at Merrill Kelly is going to be 37 this year. Eduardo Rodriguez is 32. Brandon Pfaadt is still very young, and he had postseason success, but is yet to replicate that in the regular season, which is kind of bizarre. Is he still somebody that you view as a long-term starter in this franchise, or is he somebody that's just filling a gap until you have a prospect that's ready? What do you do about Jordan Montgomery, who's still there? You're paying a lot of money for him to be a long reliever. So you want to try and find a way to get him back in the rotation. Like, to me, there are more questions. There are more questions than answers, in my opinion, about this rotation.
I just scrolled down on their Fangraphs a little bit. I don't think Pavin Smith. They're going to probably like platoon their DH.
Probably. Yeah.
Like if when Blaze Alexander gets back, I think that they'll probably slide him in and out of infield and DH. He has a strained oblique in February, but I don't know. Shout out Blaze Alexander. He's pretty cool. Like him. Went to my high school for like a year and then moved to Florida to pursue baseball.
I think more than likely it's going to be somebody like a Jordan Lawler. Who,
yes.
True.
Top prospect and kind of on the fringe, and you just have yet to find a place to play him. But if there is a place to play him, I think it's probably that DH spot, although it's bad to DH a rookie because then, I don't know. There's just issues.
Well, I don't know. They could also, they could say screw Perdomo and give him the shortstop job.
Yeah, but Perdomo is such a glove first guy. This is a poorly.
That is true. That is true.
Ketel Marte age himself out of defense at some point?
No, but
I guess.
I think they would move Suarez straight to a DH before they.
That's true.
Make somebody else play and give somebody third.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And you still have, to be clear, like there are very good players on this baseball. You look at Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Gabriel Moreno, to an extent, are all guys that you expect to be all-star caliber players every single season. And I think that matters, right? You have to have anchors in your lineup like that, but I just think when you're trying to fill in the gaps, I don't know, man. I'm not so sold on this team.
Yeah, for sure.
Final thoughts or move forward?
Let's go.
Move
quickly today. This is good stuff. The team that finished second in the National League West last year, Southern California's very own San Diego Padres. John, what's up with the Padres?
Over the offseason, they lost David Peralta, Martin Perez, Tanner Scott, Nick Ahmed, Jurickson Profar, Kyle Higashioka, Donovan Solano, and Hassan Kim. However, they do add Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, Nick Pavetta, Yuli Gurriel, and Jose, oh my God, Iglesias.
this is such, all right, this is gonna sound stupid, but this was such a Padres offseason. It
Yeah.
in the most prototypical way, the guys that they lose, Martin Perez, Tanner Scott, Nick Ahmed were in-season signings. Ha-Seong Kim was someone who was not exactly on the way out, but was one of the most productive players you lose. Jurickson Profar back 1 year, and then he's really good. So, but they got outpriced by the Braves on that one. And then Kyle Higashioka came over in a trade for in the trade preseason for Juan Soto, so you also didn't expect him to stick around for terribly long. And the players that they bring in are also guys that aren't really going to stick very long. Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, Yuli Gurriel, all project as these veteran guys, possible bench bats, DHs, occasional fourth outfielders, or maybe a first base stint. Jose Iglesias might have just played himself into a starting role, taking over where Ha-Seong Kim may have played as that sort of slide between second, third, and short. But really, this is such a fascinating team because you look, Luis Arraez, perennial contact hitter, but really only has that big average and doesn't really do much else with it. Fernando Tatis he's El Nino. He's gonna be good. Jackson Merrill broke onto the scene as a first-time center fielder and a fantastic rookie. You look at this as a team that really just needs to prove that they can keep the wheels on through the season. Because if they make the wild card, this has historically been the thing that the Padres can't play in the postseason. So
Right.
I'm less worried about what they're going to do in season, but making sure that when players get hurt, you have the requisite players behind them, and also making sure that when those players get hurt, you're hoping that they can make that endurance test into October. Because if you're coming out there with untested rookies, or God forbid, like last year, players like Tyler Wade start making important starts in a playoff push team, it's not a recipe for success, especially not in an NL West where the guys at the top are that good.
Yeah, my thing with this Padres team is they've already been eaten by the injury bug. They have 3 pitchers on the projected injured list right now. Right, Joe Musgrove is not going to be back this year. He had Tommy John surgery in October of last year. Yu Darvish, elbow inflammation. Bus, what does elbow inflammation mean?
Nothing good.
Probably Tommy John surgery.
John.
We'll see in 3 years. So I'd also like to ask the question of, can anybody tell me, please, I very much would like to know, who Stephen Kolek or Randy Vasquez are? Those are their 4 and 5 starters.
Randy Vasquez also came over for Juan Soto.
I believe so. Yeah. Yes.
He was a former Yankee. He made a lot of those fifth start, spot start guy.
Yeah, he's got an arm. He's got .147 of service time. All I'm saying is that you're not going to get anywhere near the playoffs if you've got a guaranteed loss every 4th and 5th day, because those 2 guys can't pitch. Both projected over 4.25 ERAs. Of course, both of them not projected to start the entire year, but it's I just don't know. And again, you look at it, it's not like they're, other than Nick Pivetta, the rest of their pitching staff is never guaranteed to be healthy for a whole year. Pivetta is Pivetta. He's going to go out there, he's going to give you 26 starts, and he's probably going to have under 3.5. But Dylan Cease is a guy that can get injured. Michael King is a guy who gets injured. Yu Darvish is a guy who gets injured. Joe Musgrove is not coming back. I just don't see how this, the lineup's great. Cool. You got El Nino, you've got Luis Arraez, you've got Jackson, Morel, whatever his first name is, Jackson Morel, Manny Machado. You still got Dander. You still got Jake Cronenworth. You've got All-Star Game MVP Elias Diaz, and what are you going to do with it if you can't pitch?
At what point do we get to start having the conversation that this Padres team is wasting their window.
At what point? I think we
They're already doing it.
should have been saying that for the last 2 years.
They're a
Because
paper
to a
tiger.
certain extent, they've had postseason success, right? Like they've gone deep in the playoffs a couple times. They've beaten the Dodgers in a series, and they've
That
gone
one time.
They've gone toe to toe with the Dodgers another time as well. But outside of that, like it's not like they have an NL West pennant. It's
Yeah.
not like they have an NL pennant.
When did they beat the Dodgers? 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
Okay, their window.
The year that the D-backs snuck through into the World Series.
Because
That
they
was
play for rings in the desert.
In the desert, yeah. Their window closed when Shohei Ohtani signed with the Dodgers. Nobody in the NL was making the World Series other than that team.
Realistically, I think their window closed when Fernando Tatis Jr. got exposed as a PED user, if we're being honest.
He had a really bad bout of ringworm.
I think it's a...
They were playing Yahtzee.
You want to move on?
Let's move on. The division winners last year and this year, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Los Dodgers. They lost. Jack Flaherty, Joe Kelly, Walker Buehler, Kevin Kiermaier, Gavin Lux. They acquire Blake Snell, Michael Conforto, Hae-Sung Kim, Tanner Scott, Roki Sasaki, and Kirby Yates.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
How much needs to be said about them?
I don't. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. This is the best team in baseball. This might have been the best. This might be the most thoroughly constructed team of this decade. And at the end of the day, it's because the Guggenheim Foundation is just throwing money at every problem they have. They have like 7 starters that could easily be a 2 or 3 or even a 1 in any other system, and they've got 7 of them. And they're just gonna have a 6-man rotation, and one of the poor souls has got to be a long reliever. You know, poor Dustin May, who had some of the nastiest stuff ever before he tore his esophagus, might as well just be a long reliever at this point. There's the team that is the thing that's sponsoring the Tokyo series right now is the Guggenheim Foundation, that are the sponsor patch and the owners of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And you look at this and look, who's the worst player on the team right now? Austin Barnes?
James Outman?
James Outman? Andy Paez?
Like, these are all dudes that could start on, probably 10 to 15 other major league franchises.
I'll tell you what,
these are the worst players on your team.
Every single player, if you took them off the Dodgers and put them on the White Sox, whatever player it is, they're the best player on the team.
Hae-Sung Kim was a marquee signing out of the KBO as this contact-oriented second baseman. He didn't even make the roster.
Yeah, he's going to start in AAA.
He's starting in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Can I read something real quick for you guys?
Please.
Here is the list of starting pitchers that are on the injured list for the Dodgers.
I was going to make this point.
Tony Gonsolin, Kyle Hurt.
Hey, that's a likely place for him to be.
That's a great name. Great name. Clayton Kershaw, River Ryan, Emmett Sheehan, and Gavin Stone. Now I'm going to read you out their injuries: back discomfort, Tommy John surgery, toe surgery, and knee surgery. Tommy John surgery.
Are those two connected or like?
And yes, Clayton Kershaw had toe and knee surgery. He had toe and knee surgery.
Now he just needs head surgery and shoulder surgery.
That is what their injured list for their pitchers looks like. And they're still going to be the best team in the league.
And by the way, the MVP from last year, the DH only from last year, he's going to start starting pitching in probably May or June.
Yeah.
Just because
he wants to. Yeah. They don't need him to, because what's that going to do? What's that do? What are you going to do? bump Roki Sasaki to the bullpen? Like,
Oh no!
also, I think they should stop letting Shohei be a starting pitcher, and I think they should make him the closer. Just have that dude run in from off the bench after being a DH, burn the DH, and just let him pitch. If he's just DHing, he can pitch the ninth.
There's not much.
I
to
also
say about
think
this team.
if he's just pitching the ninth, he can focus more on hitting, which means he's still going to hit 50 home runs a year. Anyways, want to go to the predictions because there's not much more we need to say here.
I just.
I mean, here's the case.
And they already started with one win to start the season.
Yeah, they do have a win to start the season. That's big. They defeated the
only
Cubs.
team undefeated.
Yes. I will make the case for the Dodgers not to be the best team in baseball. And that case is basically exactly what happened last year, which is that this is a really, really, really bad defending team. And this is a team that maybe gets plagued by injuries. Maybe your best pitcher and Shohei Ohtani can't end up going for the whole year on the mound. And then you have, Clayton Kershaw who breaks his toe and his knee at the same time. And you just have these injuries that stack up and stack up and stack up. And, oh, by the way, this happened last year. And you know what happened last year? They won the World Series anyway. This is the best team in baseball. Like, there's no two ways to split it.
Agreed. Let's do predictions.
Let's do predictions. I have a feeling that I know who everybody's going to take to finish last.
Yeah, I almost just feel like, should we just do this across the board real quick?
Hey, however you want to do it.
All in favor of the Rockies being dead last in all of our predictions.
Aye.
The ayes are 3, the nays are 0. The Rockies are officially dead last in all 3 predictions.
I'm shocked.
Do we want to do the same thing for this one?
I think we can.
All right.
All in favor of the San Francisco Giants being dead 4th. They're also dead.
Aye.
The ayes are 3, the nays are 0. The San Francisco Giants are officially 4th in all 3 predictions. John, you're 3rd.
This is where I'm assuming we're going to start splitting hairs. I think the 2 and the 3, the 2 and the 3 could be a coin flip here. I'm gonna go that the Padres are 3rd. I think it's just I feel like they're gonna do the same thing. Something's gonna implode. Like Machado's gonna get hurt again. Bogarts isn't gonna go. Luis Ariz has a really down year or something. Something's gonna drop off, and they won't have any backfill to actually make that worth it. So I think they'll be good enough, but not very.
I also have the I know the Fathers finishing 3rd in this division. I know I brought up the point already of them wasting this talent window, but I genuinely, truly feel like they have just had some very, very despicable front office management over the last 5 or so years. They haven't been able to put a complete team together. They're going to miss the playoffs this year.
I kind of wish that we gave each other our predictions prior to the show. Because me as myself, I cannot root against I can't root for the playing for rings in the desert not to happen. So I also have the Padres in 3rd, which means that I'd almost bet that our 2nd and 1st place are all identical.
I have a feeling that you're probably right about that.
Yep.
And this might be the only division. It is the only division where we're identical, but it might be the only division we all somebody gets them all right, and we're all going to get them all right.
I will be honest with you guys. I thought when I was making our show notes, I thought long and hard about the case for the Rockies to have a better year than the Giants. That was the only spot in my entire 1 through 5 of this division that I had any question about.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think the only thing that gets the Giants over the Rockies is their pitching staff is just going to be a little bit better.
Agree.
Like Justin Verlander. Wow, great job. All right, John, your 2nd place team. Or do we go
let's just. Do you want to just? I
Are
feel
we
like
all
we kind
saying
of.
Diamondbacks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, the Diamondbacks and then the Dodgers win it. Quick thoughts.
It, Diamondbacks just don't. They don't have a really great. I'm not confident in their pitching staff. They burnt a lot of money on players that might not actually be that good. I think Corbin Burns is good, but your Merrill Kelly's still your 3, and he's not really. He doesn't really have it anymore. It's like you gotta prove that the bats are worth it. I don't think they will. As for the Dodgers, see previous comments.
Money machine go brrrr.
I disagree with I have the Diamondbacks above everybody else because I like their pitching staff.
I think you're
And I know
crazy, respectfully.
I understand, but I don't like. Yeah, trust me, it's not the worst pitching staff of the top 3 teams. Like the Padres pitching staff is going to be bad. Like Dylan Cease will be the John Lieber Award winner, but no, it'll be Gavin Sheets this year because now he's finally a former White Sox. But like, I don't know. And then obviously the Dodgers are just the Dodgers, and if they don't win the World Series, they should sell the organization.
They probably will end up selling the organization before the tax man comes. In the next 10 years anyway. So
That is true.
that is true. So now we've had all
Wait,
of
I actually have a question. Does
Wait.
anybody know how the deferred contracts work? Is like the deferred payment for the first year after the contract ends connected to this year's like salary? Because like, are the Dodgers getting taxed, and then is the player getting taxed on the full amount they should be making this year, or will they just get taxed on like on their deferred payments when they get them?
That's how I believe it works. Is they get
Okay.
taxed on the deferred payments when they
receive them.
the deferred payments. Otherwise,
Okay.
I don't know why any player would ever agree to that.
Well, because it's basically at that point it's like a Roth IRA. Like you're paying your taxes now on it instead of you pay them now, but you don't get the money. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Like that would be an interesting idea, but you're probably right. Because it's like income at that point as they go on. So
I mean, that's the way that deferred contracts have worked for as long as there's been deferred contracts. Is they're just you get a lump sum every year and you get taxed on that lump sum when it comes in.
Right.
Yeah. So now we have every division winner.
Oh yeah.
And we'll put all of our divisional lineups out on social media on
tomorrow morning, probably.
At the Chatting AVG on X the Everything app. Next episode, maybe we can go a little bit more in depth into how we think the playoffs are going to shake out now that we all have our predictions and things like that. But for the time being, if you've missed any of our past preview shows, go check out our Twitter. We'll have all of our recaps there once John gets the graphic made. And with that being said, do we want to jump into our last segment?
Yeah, for sure.
Grid.
The Immaculate Grid is our final segment today. And the Immaculate Grid is a 3x3 grid with 9 intersections where you have to like match the things in those intersections. Guys, it's been out for 716 days. If you don't know what it is, look it up. On the rows today, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Washington Nationals, and a less than or equal to 3 ERA for a season.
Okay.
And then we have the Atlanta Braves in column 1, Los Serpientes in column 2, and 200 plus strikeouts in a season for column 3.
So Braves Pirates. A friend of the Long Island Ducks, I believe, Ben Heller. I might be thinking.
0.03.
No, that's Michael Tonkin. Never mind. That's all right. It still is. It still is Ben Heller. I was thinking of a different relief pitcher.
Okay.
Braves Nationals could be a lot of things. How about Ehire Adrianza? EHIRE.
Yeah, I spelled his last name. That's 1%.
Okay, that's fine.
Almost just died there.
Braves less than 3 ERA. Jay Jackson. He pitched like 1 or 2 games.
0.01. There you go, bud.
Wow. Okay. Wow. There we go. Yeah, he pitched 2 games, 1 1/3 innings, with a 0 ERA.
Look at you. You know things.
I have one for D-backs Nationals.
Sure, go ahead.
Matt Albers.
Albert or Albers?
Albers.
Okay, I would say I cut off, so I was confused. 0.1.
Pirates Nationals.
Correct. No.
No,
Diamondbacks Pirates.
Oh, okay. I meant to say Pirates because this guy also played for the Nationals. Ildemaro Vargas.
Sure. That worked. Ildemar. There we go. 0.1.
What do we have left? What are we looking at?
We are looking at Diamondbacks less than a 3 ERA season, and then all the 200 plus K season.
200 plus K. I think Mitch Keller did it for the Pirates in like 23.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Mitch Keller had 200 Ks, I think, for the Pirates in 2023.
Sure. Yeah, 4%.
Okay. Nationals, because this is also Montreal, so we could think Pedro.
We could go back there for sure.
I have an answer for D-backs 3 ERA season.
Okay.
A gentleman who we've discussed earlier on in this podcast.
Ooh.
Pavin Smith.
True.
That is true. 0.04.
Yeah, 1 appearance in the bullpen last year.
That's funny.
God, Nationals, it's like probably what? Scherzer, Strasburg are probably
Scherzer,
a lot of
Strasburg definitely had it. Patrick Corbin has definitely had it.
Pedro has probably done
just
it
feel
too.
like all of those are very obvious, though.
Yeah.
What about? Oh, White Sox
like
legend.
Patrick Corbin might be the least remembered of those guys.
Do you think Gio Gonzalez ever had it?
He's going to say that.
I think Gio Gonzalez might be a solid bet.
He did.
Sure
he had 200. He had 207 strikeouts his first year in Washington.
All right, Gio Gonzalez. Also 4%. Darn. Okay, less than a 3 ERA and a 200K season. And those, when paired with a non-team category, does not need to be in the same season. Interesting.
It could be literally any. It could literally be any pitcher.
Any pitcher ever.
There's probably like hundreds of them. So like, we could do.
Okay, yeah, we could do
We could do
What if we did James Shields?
Sure.
James.
0.04. Rarity score of 9.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
John, there is only 280 pitchers all time who have a 200 plus K season and a less than 3 ERA season.
Oh, only 280 of these?
Only.
You know who has more? Which spot had more options? Braves with a less than 3 ERA season.
Well, I mean, they're a really old franchise. It's not that surprising.
Hardest spot on the grid today was the Pirates and the Diamondbacks. The number one answer there was Starling Marte. I know every other number one answer, but I've never heard of Sid Bream, which was the number one answer for Braves Pirates. Very cool. Only 7 Pirates with 200 plus Ks in a season, so Mitch Keller wasn't a bad guess. Obviously, number one there is Garrett Cole at 66%. I think that's all we've got today. Pretty quick episode, but
yeah.
Just as like a paying it forward kind of thing. I've had my Mac here for 4 years, and I've always been confused on why it runs slowly, and like if I have more than 3 tabs open, it's like, well, did you really want to do that?
You mean other than it just being a Mac?
Yeah, right. So somebody said you should use like Google Chrome or Firefox instead of Safari. I have not been able to like actually look at Fangraphs on this computer without having to like retype in each team every one of these episodes. I was able to actually click the little 3-letter name of every team that as we moved along, and it just jumped right to it. If you're still using Safari in the year of our Lord 2025, stop. Download Firefox. That's what I'm on. Firefox is better than Chrome.
I am such a Firefox truther.
I love Firefox. Honestly, it's got good like UI too.
Yeah.
Like
I use
it's like
Firefox exclusively on my work computer, and it is phenomenal.
yeah, same. Like at work at the equipment lab here at the J School. Like I just love Firefox, and I love their home screen because like it just remembers what websites you've been on in the past, so you can just like, oh yeah, I would just like to go to Twitter, and you click it and it goes. And I know there's like favorite bars and stuff that you can do with that, but like that's just nice.
All right.
Follow us on Twitter at the Chatting
Everybody
AVG.
comes to the Chatting Average for advice on what browsers to use. So I'm glad
I'm
that
saying
we give
for
that.
a little bit there, we were called the Charting Average.
We were called the Charting Average.
Just a second. Just a second.
At some point.
Shout out Noah Chen for spelling our name wrong. R.I.P.
Oh no! Oh no! What's happening?
Oh. The only way to save Adam is to click on follow on at the Chatting AVG on X, the Everything app, aka Twitter, or subscribe to us on YouTube at the Chatting Average, and also listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and rate us 5 stars or rate us however you do that on the requisite site.
Rate us 5 though.
Yeah, do rate us.
Started this episode with the cookie in my mouth, ending this episode with the cookie in my hand. It's the way. Eat this, for it is the body of the MLB. Goodbye.